Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to a Heart of the Swarm replay cast here from myself. It's Duckville. I am here for you today with a PvZ that is really cool. It actually happened last night, and I had the pleasure of watching this one. So I do actually know exactly what happened. It was on stream, and but I said, you know what, that was a pretty cool game. Drop me the replay, and we'll do a cast for the folks that weren't able to watch live. Now, our player who was streaming at the time is up at the top left-hand side of Akalon Waste. He's a player who is part of my featured stream of the month. He's our Protoss stream of the month for September and also October. I'm extending it through to October. Unfortunately, I was a little bit sick, didn't get to sort of rant about all my three featured streams for the month because I was a little bit sick during September, so I'm extending it through to October. And our Protoss player up at the top left-hand side here is Silicon Sports ARze. Now, he's a player who has certainly been rising in the local scene here in the C region. He's been just, he recently hit NAGM and is also doing quite well on the Korean ladder as well, up there in the High Masters at the moment, I believe. And he just happens to have some really solid macro. He's especially his macro. It's something that I was talking to Exile 5 Pig about, one of my other featured streams. Pig was saying that, yeah, ARze just has this amazing macro PvZ, and also, no, maybe it was Finna, someone was telling me that ARze was just, you know, he just has this amazingly solid long-term PvZ, always making the right decisions, always picking up tech and switching when needed, all those kinds of very important things to come as you move into late game. So what we will hopefully see here is a really nice sort of mid to longer term game here with our Protoss player. Meanwhile, down at the bottom right hand side is a player who you may have heard of before. It is GuitarCheese, who recently, I believe he made it into WCS. He's currently on the Korean ladder in the GM regions as well. Just also a really good player here. And as you can see, he's going to open us up with the hatch, the spawning pool, and the gas. But yeah, GuitarCheese, a player who is certainly definitely well worth having a look out for as well. He also has a stream over on Twitch. You can jump on there and have a look at his play. But yeah, he's you know, getting into Korean GM ladder these days is not, it's you know, it's not the easiest of tasks. Let me just put it that way. But you know, a lot of the foreign players, I've actually been seeing quite a lot of the foreign players have been jumping in there these days. I'm not sure whether that's just a change and there aren't as many Korean players getting into the ladder as much, or if some of the foreign players are actually really upping their game, practicing a lot more, and jumping in there a bit more now as well. But either way, it's really good to see how some of these guys are going. Now, ARze is going to head out here. It looks like we do have that standard sort of gateway expand. Akalon Waste, a map that is nice and easy to set up your three bases. Of course, when you take out these rocks just here, you can also set up a little bit of a wall. A lot of Protoss players, what they'll do is they will opt to throw down a pylon around about here, and then you can set up a little gateway wall that sort of also acts as a secondary block. A lot of the times you'll see a cannon go down that offers you a little bit of protection as well. But this third base, once these rocks over here are gone, that is very nice and simple to take. Now, sometimes some Protoss players will opt to head down towards this base instead, but as we can see, ARze is just going to be starting off with a very standard sort of opening here that has been making its rounds these days. I think Duck, one of the players who did wonderfully at WCS EU just recently, he's been doing this kind of play. The old Stargate at the front door, a couple of gates going to help out with the block there as well. ARze is going to see that the third base is now down for GuitarCheese, so we'll see how he's going to react to that. But all of this, all it's doing is setting up a nice economy, plus also getting some nice tech here with that Stargate coming out. So we'll keep an eye on what he does get up to. Yeah, there is the Phoenix, very similar to the way that Duck was playing it out. As I've said, ARze has some wonderful macros, so we'll keep an eye out if he's going to play out for something a little bit more strategic right at the start. There is a pylon now going down. This kind of build also gives the Protoss options for heading in there and getting some damage done. We can see that this pylon, it looks as if it will go down. I wonder if that hatchery, I don't think the hatchery is in range to see that. once it actually completes. But now the Mothership Core will come across. We do have a single Zealot also making its way forwards. The Phoenix is going to catch out one of the Overlords just randomly floating about, but the third is just about to finish up. We can see quite a few Lings now on the way for GuitarCheese. He senses that there is something wrong, and he is going to send a few Lings across to the opposite side of the map. Right now, he knows that his third base is in a little bit of jeopardy. He does not see that pylon across to the side there. The Overlord finally does go down, but now, as you can see, quite a few, quite a lot of damage is going to be put into this hatchery. Back at home for ARze, he does have to deal with some Lings that are coming across now as well. He's going to put up a backup gateway just in case the second sentry also warps in. But now GuitarCheese confirms that there are a couple of gates here at the front, but the Zealots are now going to warp in. We can see lots and lots of Lings on the production tab here, and in fact, ARze is going to have to deal with quite a few of these Lings now surrounding his Zealots. Time warps go down. We can see the Phoenix are going to lift up a couple of the Queens as well, but the Lings are going to go to work, and that is a really solid commitment there from GuitarCheese to be able to kill all of this off. He wasn't exactly sure what was going on, but now all of those Lings have been forced. We can see the drone count is currently sitting at 40, and while we haven't actually killed off this base, it doesn't put ARze in a terrible position. Like, a lot of the time, players will say, well, you know, that attack didn't work, you didn't kill off the third base, I guess that it's basically GG time, but not necessarily. Some players will try and counteract that kind of push by sending in all these Lings, trying to knock down the wall or something like that, as we can see GuitarCheese doing. And it looks as if he's certainly going to put a lot of damage into that gateway. ARze will be forced to force field that off just to make sure that he does not lose that wall. But the Phoenix count still continuing to grow. We'll see if he hasn't actually put any Spore Crawlers down, but he does have a lot of Queens. We've got 8 Queens out now for our Zerg player. He's also got 1-1 on the upgrades coming up, mostly for the melee units there, of course. And now we can see that he is going to continue to re-drone. We're going to go back up to a total of 56 right now, and the Phoenix will now roam about and try and find some targets of opportunity here. So ARze is he's successfully put some pressure on his opponent, slowed down the droning, didn't necessarily kill off a huge amount of drones or actually, you know, do a huge amount of damage to the hatchery, but he was able to force the sort of that slowdown of the economy there. So he has been able to keep up. Meanwhile, now being able to snipe down some of these drones, for some reason GuitarCheese just not prepared at all for these Phoenix, despite the fact that he certainly could have seen that all of those were coming. Down goes a Queen here, as we can see, one lift, and that should be it. The Phoenix should be able to take her out. Oops, actually just missed out one shot there, but that Queen does survive. GuitarCheese, he's going to force the Phoenix back for now. The Spore Crawler is finally going to be in operation in a moment, but well, ARze certainly got a lot of damage done. He's killed off a couple of Queens. We saw a couple of drones go down, just a total of 3 at the moment, but we can see that he has been able to force his opponent to get some defense up, sacrifice some drones to set up these Spore Crawlers. But GuitarCheese certainly in a comfortable position right now, setting up a 4th base. He's got those upgrades on the way, as we mentioned before. Infestation Pit now coming straight out here for the Zerg player. We can see that he is still continuing to re-drone and all these kinds of things, transferring a couple across, wants to make sure that he has good saturation on the 4th base and all these kinds of things. You can see he's got 17 and 17, all these magical numbers that players love to keep an eye on to make sure that they are saturated properly. But here we go. ARze now going to scout in. He sees that the 4th base is here. Should be able to pick up a couple of drones. Don't need to kill every single thing here, but it always is nice to pick up a couple of those free drones if you can. And behind this, ARze has been able to set up his own 3rd base. We can see the Nexus going down. 3 gateways are also on the way. There's that cannon that I mentioned. I did not... I'm not even joking, I did not remember the setup, but that is exactly the way that he did it. That's just a standard sort of way to set this up on this map. But now for ARze, we can see he's got his extended thermal lance on the way. The first of the Colossi has come out and is going to be joined by a second in a moment. Void Ray is going to continue to be pumped out right now. Upgrades are on the way as well. And as you can see, ARze will still continue to get a lot of his tech up and running. Now that the 3rd base is just about to finish up and he will have everything all nice saturated, this is going to give him a really nice position to set up his mid-game here. So this is where Protoss loves to try and get everything set, get all their pieces into place, and then once you have that economy in position, you can start just really powering up and start mowing down all that creep that's out of the map. As we can see, a lot of infestors have now come out for GuitarCheese. I believe we saw 7 had just popped out. So he's now got a very interesting mixture of units right now. Looks like we're going to go for Infestor Ling, then straight up up to that Ultralisk Cavern, and we're going to go straight into Infesta, Ultra, and Lings. So it is going to be a very ground melee-based composition here from the Zerg player. Meanwhile, for ARze, he has detected that those infestors are around, so he's going to possibly add in a few more Colossi to keep an eye on things now, but especially now that he has seen that there are the Lings that are also out, he's probably going to consider stopping the Colossi. We've got 2 out. We're probably going to get, second rowboat. We're going to start up the Immortals, because this kind of signature here, this Ling infestor position here that our Zerg player has taken, it says to us, alright, where's the rest of his gas gone into? Of course, these infestors do cost a lot of gas, but where is the rest going to? Of course, you've got upgrades, you've got, the setup of the hive, but then you have the Ultralisk Cavern, and that is what ARze will need to prepare for. We do have a 4th Colossus now coming out. I'm a little bit surprised he hasn't fully switched over. Void Rays may be added in as well. They do a decent amount of damage, but when you have to deal with infestors as well, it can be a little bit scary to try and get a large clump of Void Rays out, simply because Void Rays love to group up. They love to sit on the same spot. As we can see, these guys just love to clump up right on top of everything, pretty much just like everything in StarCraft 2, I suppose. But they do start to really clump up, and that can really cost you quite a lot when you are dealing with a lot of fungal that comes out from the Zerg. But look at this creep spread from GuitarCheese. A wonderful amount of creep spread. Would love to see it pushing up here towards his 5th base. If he can set it up that way, that'd be quite nice. But he also has it all the way through the middle, continuing to spread it out. And now that the Ultras are coming through, they've got their 2-2 on their upgrades, about to finish up the chitinous plating to add in a little bit more armor for them. But GuitarCheese just posturing outside the 3rd base. Is he going to go in? That is the big question here. Is he going to try and chomp down that door, or is he just going to wait outside the front and try and take down any sort of position that ARze might try and set up here to set up his 4th base? But it looks as if the Colossi from the high ground, far too powerful for those Lings. They're going to have to back off to the side for the moment. GuitarCheese, I'm not sure how I feel about him just sort of sitting out here. We either need to, possibly throw in some infested Terrans across at the side. I know they aren't as strong as they used to be, guys, but they still can be used as a distraction or something like that. Speaking of which, Warp Prism is now going to make its way down towards the bottom side of the map. We can see that some Lings are going to come across, trying to take out the 4th, but that is not going to happen. As you can see, the Colossi easily burning down the majority of the Lings. In fact, no, wow. I'm a little bit surprised. I thought that was going to work out quite nicely there for ARze, but as you can see, the Warp Prism running into a little bit of trouble here. Just a little bit of spam clicking going on there from ARze to make sure that he can get inside the main base. Zealots now on their way. They have currently got 102. A little bit slower on those upgrades here from ARze, but he will be able to get some serious damage done very soon. What is this Colossus doing? He's just having a little bit of a stroll out on the map. Rallied across by that Warp Prism there, but the Zealots now getting inside. These guys will do a nice job against the Lings, but these are 2-2 Lings with Adrenal Glands, so they do a tremendous amount of damage when it comes to their melee output. And GuitarCheese, identifying that his opponent wants to get some drive-by attacks going, is going to set up some more static defense. I would love to see a little bit more at some of these extra bases as well. It's something that I really... I don't understand sometimes Zerg players. There are certain players who will do little groups of Hydras and just sort of like 2 or 3 Hydras. A lot of the time you see a player like Pig or some of the other high-level NA players will sometimes just throw about a couple of Hydras to set up some anti-Warp Prism defense. Otherwise, I really think that this kind of stuff here, setting up lots of spines and a couple of spores as well for detection is probably the best way to do it. But here we go, we've got a big battle. Neural Parasite coming down from the infestors, and they neural parasited a couple of hallucinated Archons here. That is a hallucination, that says ARze, and he burns down a lot of the Zerg army here. Probes even coming out. I'm not sure what all that's about, but the Colossi will survive. We've got a couple of Immortals down here at the back as well, but as we can see, ARze is now starting to get a little bit of work done across the map here. He's been in a way contained, but now he's been able to move himself about on the map, and with a few various little drive-by attacks that we were mentioning with this Warp Prism, he certainly could put himself in a really strong position here in this game. But GuitarCheese, he's not done yet. We've got the Great Aspire now on the way. We can also see that 9 Ultras are just about to pop out here. Baneling Speed, interestingly, is also going to come out here in a moment. Just waiting to see where these Ultras decide to head for, because they do have their full upgrades now. 5-3 is all active. We've got Broodlords now on the way. A very nice, amount of minerals and gas here is present, but you know, we would love to see this extra gas coming in here for GuitarCheese. This is the point where as Zerg player, you start to, they tend to have troubles with minerals in the very late game of PvZ, but at this stage you really want all that extra gas so you can remax on the Ultras and the Broodlords and all these kinds of things as quickly as you can. But ARze is going to suffer the wrath of a little bit of a Ling run by here. The probe's forced to evacuate for now, but here we can see that ARze moving into a very awkward position here. He needs to be very careful, and with a little bit of recall, he goes back home to clean up those Lings. The probes are able to stay alive for the most part. As we can see, they try to jump into that assimilator, but as you can see, lots of Banes now prepared. A decent decision, but I don't know how well that's going to go, considering there are still 5 Colossi out. And of course, Archons are the best friends of Banelings. They like to give them hugs and these kinds of things because they are just too efficient for Banelings to deal with. But now we can see GuitarCheese slowly moving forwards. He asked to not drag the game out. Well, he has decided it's go time. Look at that. The Baneling filled donut with the Ultralists around the side, but the Broodlords have now come out. There are 3 Stargates back at home for ARze that are just about to finish up, and if they can get some Tempest down or maybe some extra points, this may be able to, he may be able to save the day here. But these Broodlords are slowly but surely going to whittle away at a lot of the Protoss army. The Colossi very good at dealing with the Broodlings, but as you can see, the Broodlords just still continue to rain them down, and the Stargates being chrono boosted as quickly as possible. ARze trying to get out that force that he needs to be able to deal with these Broodlords, and the Broodlords still numbering 6. They're going to be throwing down all of those little Broodlings as much as they can. But GuitarCheese, where is the, we just want to make sure that you've got the backup plan, an extra base, some more gas coming in as well, because ARze is not done yet. He's got lots of Zealots now charging through their upgrades. Still lacking a little bit of armor there, but they do have a bit of shield, which always helps out. And the Colossi forced to back off. The Broodlords are now raining down fire on top of everything in here. The storm going down, a beautiful storm accompanied by the Time Warp. Talking about best of friends, those 2 particular spells are just wonderful together. The Tempest now firing in, coming across from the side to lay waste to those Broodlords, and they will. Very quickly they dispose of those Broodlords there. As you can see, the 80 damage to massive air targets. The Ultralists do a decent job cleaning up most of the ground army, but the Corruptors were not able to help out and take down the Tempest. There was just too much firepower there with the Tempest. Not only the Tempests themselves, but a couple of cannons were also here as well. And ARze has been able to buy himself some more time. We can see that due to that, well, there it is, that lack of gas here from GuitarCheese. Unfortunately, he has not been able to bring out some of the more high-powered units, but he does have 8 Infestors on the way. These guys can certainly make or break. It's something we like to talk about quite a lot when it comes to late-game PvZ. Late-game any matchup actually can be really dependent on the energy units that you can see that we are slowly starting to get out here for GuitarCheese. But again, I'm still a little bit worried about this choice to go into mass Lings. Of course, Lings are really great at dealing with Tempest, ironically, just because the Tempest takes so long to deal with the Lings, but the Storms are wonderful from ARze. The Archons at the front helping out with those Corruptors, and as you can see, the Tempests are able to lay waste to a lot of the Corruptors as well. Forced to head back home for the moment. The Corruptors, keep in mind, have no upgrades. GuitarCheese getting a little bit anxious at this point, I think, but he does still have a lot of Infestors, but we need some kind of other power unit out right now. The possibility of, I don't know, this is the hard part when it gets to this point and a Protoss has all of these powerful forces mixed together. You've got Colossi for Lings, you've got Archons for Lings and pumped up units in general. You've got the Immortals to deal with the high-powered armored units, the Blink Stalkers for some mobility, the Tempest to deal with air targets and long-range shenanigans. But now we can see, here we go, is ARze in a good position here. I do like, he's got to be very cautious approaching through this little bit here. This is a very key point for this particular match, because if ARze moves through here, gets fungled up, then it could be the death of him, because it could be fungled for years. The Ultras will be able to chomp through things, but as you can see, he's just carefully positioning. We'd love to see some splitting here, but no, as we can see, there is some, the Tempest going to town on a lot of units there. Neural Parasite, there is some fungal as well, on top of the Wow, the Colossi getting Neuroparasited, and of course, well, I don't know, that's the first time I've really seen that. The first time I've seen Neuroparasited units not be recalled back. Of course, it logically makes sense. I mean, it's not your unit, you can't recall it. I've just never seen it before. Alright, well, that's today a bit of a today I learned for the StarCraft universe, I guess. But ARze now with his 5th base about to be set up, but unfortunately I don't know for how long this base will be able to stay online and operational. The Infestors coming along, they can provide some support with their fungal growth, not to mention Infested Terrans possibly, but unfortunately they're caught at the front and they get annihilated by the Colossi. The Tempest at the front as well. ARze blinking forward, wants to get rid of as many of those Infestors as he can, targets them down. Excellent target choice by ARze. The Corruptors, of course, trying to take out the Colossi and the Tempest, doing an excellent job of that, and they will be able to get rid of them. But the Archons, the Immortals, the Stalkers on the ground, they're just too strong. As we can see, the upgrades are still lagging just a little bit behind here for ARze, but he has the capacity to build more and more units. We can see Templar coming out, Zealots also being added into the mix, and things are getting a little bit dicey right now as an Archon was forming. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. I think I missed perhaps a Templar drop or something like that. But GuitarCheese mining away at this space, but no gas coming in. We still don't have a 6th base. I think, I don't know, if anything, if this does go the way of ARze, I would probably say, and I'm sure that GuitarCheese would probably agree, in a way, is that perhaps grabbing a 6th base a little bit quicker would have been nice. But he is going to double check and see what's going on. This link just poking about wants to see, is that base up again? Yes, it is. Alright, so I have to be very careful about this Protoss player starting to amass just a ridiculous amount of economy. Not to mention this this massive army that he has here. Archons, Colossi, Immortals, Stalkers out the wazoo. A single Tempest and a couple of Templar are on the way. Going to be setting up a couple of those proxy pylons there, but here we go. Battle about to be raging, blinking forward with some of the Stalkers, very nicely done, targets down some of the Infested. GuitarCheese, however, gets some wonderful fungals, but the Storm's now coming through. This is the point where Protoss starts to assert their dominance. The Immortals laying waste to everything there with their +3 upgrades, and this does not look too good for GuitarCheese. I think, yeah, I kind of think that the economic choice to just sort of forget about the gases here at the 5th base have left him floundering a little bit. However, he is going to deal with some of the units across on the left-hand side of the map. We'll be taking down these last few Zealots here, and it takes out a lot of the probes, but, well, wasting time, apparently, for some points. I'm not sure what the game is for in that case, but either way, really interesting game from these two players. We got to see GuitarCheese going out for a start that I haven't seen for a little while. The old Ultraling Infestor, just going straight up with that. But we can see that ARze, he was very patient. He's got his 4th base in operation after a little bit of time, and then slowly busted his way out and got Tempest in the nick of time. If those Tempests didn't come up when they did, I think the game would have certainly gone the other way. But anyway, hope you are able to jump onto ARze's stream. He's over at twitch.tv/1ARze1. You can find all the information over on my Facebook page. Just have a quick look for a post about Stream of the Month, and you'll find this month's Protoss ARze, you'll find this month's Zerg Pig, and this month's Terran Dzerzhinsky, who is a meching Terran from EU. So make sure you jump on there. Follow on Facebook, follow on Twitch, Twitter, all the cool things. We'll catch you all next time. Here, as you can see, 47 damage to bio units and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really nicely there. And for Minigun, he's been sticking with a much more